Hey everyone, I'm Mind, and this is set number 9441, Kai's Blade Cycle from the LEGO Ninjago Rise of the Snakes wave. This set contains 188 pieces, 2 minifigures, and originally retailed for $14.99 in the US when it first came out back in 2012. This video is of course a part of my Ninjago throwback review series, so let me know in the comments which set you want to see a throwback review on next. It could be any set from 2011 to 2018, and while I don't have them all, I do have a lot of them, so let me know in the comments which one you want to see most, and it might be selected for the next Ninjago throwback review. If you want to see which reviews I've already done, I'll have a full playlist linked in the description below as well as in the pinned comment. But now, with all that being said, let's get into this review. So here's the main build of the set, of course Kai's Blade Cycle itself. And of course this is a 2012 Ninjago set, so this is a Ninjago set that I grew up with. This is not a copy I bought recently, this is the one I had when I was like 10 years old. And normally this is the part of the video where I'd say that is why the sticker placement probably is not the best, because I built it when I was 10 years old and I wasn't as concerned about that. However, it's a little bit different this time around because I actually never built this set. I did go back and repair it for this video to make sure it was complete and built correctly. But no, the way I got this set is I had a friend as a kid who was very into Ninjago just like me, and on my birthday I got 2 copies of Jay's Stormfighter, and I love that set so I put it together twice and I just had 2 of that one. Then my friend on his birthday got 2 copies of this set, and I didn't have this one yet and he didn't have Jay's Stormfighter yet, so we were like, oh, why don't we just trade the vehicles? So I gave him my extra Stormfighter, he gave me his extra one of these, so you can't even blame me for these stickers, these are his fault. They're honestly not that bad, there's like 1 or 2 that's a little bit off, but it's good enough for my collection. If it was really bad I would have gotten new ones. Anyway, I just like sharing anecdotes of me playing with these sets as a kid, because yeah, they were like my entire life back then. This is the time I got really into Ninjago. Without it, I would not be doing what I do today. But anyway, talking about the actual set, Kai's Blade Cycle. This is of course Kai's golden weapon vehicle in the show. It's what the Sword of Fire transforms into. And this set was only $15, which is kind of an amazing price for this. Like $15 back then really got you a lot more than it does today. The main feature of this set is the transformation. If you push down on this part right here, the blades on the side will actually pop out. And it's not as dramatic of a transformation as I always imagined it to be, but it's still pretty cool. It's very easy to fold back up into place. Let's try that once again from the top down. Yeah, there we go. I like that a lot, and it's honestly a somewhat complex play feature for such a small set. I feel like we don't get things like this in sets this small anymore, but I'm happy to see it here. This set is kind of defined by its stickers, like there's so many here. It is really what gives it all its detail, but they do look good. It's sort of like this cartoony fire design that goes up these blades on the side as well as this section at the front. I like having Kai's original symbol right here. Unfortunately, not all the golden weapon vehicles have the ninja symbols on them. That would have been a cool bit of consistency, but I like that it's on this one at least. And stickers on the other side are mostly the same, though this one's a little bit different. Can I zoom in? Yeah. This looks to be like a list of snakes they're tracking down, I guess, and they're crossing them off as they find them. I guess that's what it's meant to be. I don't really understand its like place right here on the vehicle, but it's cute. I like that it ties into the conflict in this set. The sticker at the same place on the other side says Octane 88 Oil, and it's like a little fuel tank for the bike, which is a cool thing to see. Doesn't really make sense in the lore of the show because this is a more magical bike and less of an actual bike, but I can't necessarily fault the designers for that because I don't know if they knew how this was going to be implemented in the show. They were probably just making a fire bike, and then the writers were like, oh, the Sword of Fire transforms into that, and they were like, okay. I do love all the different blade pieces on this, helping it feel Ninjago-esque. These are parts we see all the time these days, but they were all new for this wave from 2012. You got the smaller one down here, the bigger one right here, and I actually don't know when these were introduced. These might have been a Hero Factory piece, but I feel like gold probably was a new color for these sets. Then here we have the place for the minifigure to stand. They use a little bit of white here, which feels somewhat out of place. I assume that's just to make it easier for kids to build because the color's very different, and I much prefer using white to using like a bright blue or something, which would have been extra out of place. But yeah, you can see those handlebars that connect to the battle droid arm and a spot for Kai to stand, and there's how Kai actually looks riding the bike, which of course is very awesome. I don't think I mentioned this in this video, but this was the first ever Kai vehicle. 2011 Ninjago had no ninja vehicles at all the vehicles were villain vehicles, so while we get tons of ninja vehicles these days, this was the very first one for Kai, and it was in the same wave as the very first one for Cole, the very first one for Zane, and the very first one for Jay. So this was the predecessor to all modern Ninjago bikes, and it's a pretty good start. Like, this is still a very fun set despite having a lot more that comes after it. Here's a look at that transformation with Kai on it too, and even though the actual like push down transformation only goes so far, you can manually move things out a little bit further, and that makes the blade transformation more dramatic as you'd expect. There's a top-down view of that. A couple of minor things, these panels at the front can open up and there's some clips here, and I guess that's to store Kai's accessories while he's riding on the bike. It's a little bit weird in terms of placement, but I suppose it works. You can attach his swords right there and then close it back up. If that was the intent, I appreciate them including that because that's very nice to see. It was not super common to see in sets from this era, but we see it a lot more nowadays. Most vehicles have a way to hold accessories. The way the wheels are connected is very weird. They use a lot of these Technic spacer pieces, but you have like 1 on this side and 2 on this side. And then on the back wheel, it's 1.5 on this side and half of 1 on this side, and then the Technic axle sticks out a little bit. I assume both of those are just parts limitations at the time. I guess a Technic axle that was the perfect length hadn't been made yet, but it just feels very weird to me, like having two spaces on this side feels very clunky. That's me being very nitpicky though, I'll cut them some slack. Overall, this is a fantastic model, especially for a $15 set. It's got tons of personality, it's got a fun little transformation, which while not as dramatic as it could be, if you get in there with your fingers, you can make it bigger. There is a lot of exposed Technic when you have it opened up, but again, this was a $15 set, I'm not expecting too much. If you wanted to go crazy customizing it, you could replace that with red, cover it up a bit more. But this is fun to play with, it fits Kai, and it's just an all-around very nice looking model. Still very happy with it to this day. And then there is one small side build in the set, this shrine for the Hypnobrai staff. The golden snake staffs were the collectibles of this wave and still one of my favorites of all time. They used this really cool new molded part with like the snake that actually wraps around the staff, and then there's a stud at the front with room for a tile, and what made them different was the color and the print on the tile. So for the Venomari, it was trans blue with this little spiral on it, but then you also have this little place to display it. Definitely one of the weaker side builds of the sets of this wave, but again, I have to reiterate, this is a $15 set, most of the parts went into the bike. I'm just happy we got anything here at all, and it just gives you the littlest bit more to play with. I'm all around satisfied with this. Here are the two minifigures in this set. We have Kai ZX and we have Rattla. Kai ZX was of course the main Kai suit for Season 1 of Ninjago, and unsurprisingly, it's very nostalgic to me, and I'm sure it is for a lot of you as well. However, I will say, this minifigure holds up really well and is still quite unique today, which is surprising considering how many suits we got after this, and this was one of the first ones. He's got like this dark red armor on his upper torso with this metallic gold flaking on it, which just looks so elegant, and I love the way the dark red continues into the arms as well. It's honestly really impressive that we got such a unique suit so early, and the entire ZX line is like this, where it's not just like it's a red suit because Kai's the red ninja. No, they play around with it a little bit. They use dark red for the arms, even though the other ninja don't have like the dark colors on their arms. And I think that's part of what makes them so memorable to this day, because yes, they're the Season 1 suits, but beyond that, each character does have so much personality in their suits, and yeah, that's definitely clear here. The golden armor here looks amazing as well, of course, very iconic Ninjago piece, still coming on minifigures to this day, but these were the minifigures they were designed for. And yeah, red and gold is just an amazing color combination, like Kai looks really great like this, and of course the two katanas can fit at the back. He's got one back there right now, but if I want to remove the other one from his hand, I can slide that in the other side, and that way Kai can store his katanas while he's on the move. I will say one thing I find a little bit odd about this suit is just how there's very little leg printing. There is some, right? Like this gray trim comes down a little bit, but then the rest of the legs are plain. If I was going to be super critical, I would have liked something there, like knee pads, or even just like a few lines to be folded in the cloth would have been nice. Or maybe some slight shoe printing. But honestly, it's not the end of the world, it's just a little weird to see, because most other ninja suits don't do this. That's not just a Kai thing though, most of the ZX suits are like this, but the printing's just a little bit simple in the legs. Tying in with the gold armor too, I love the gold printing on the hood. This hood piece was amazing for the time because this was the first wave where it was introduced. It allowed the ninja to actually turn their head side to side a little bit because the hood could actually move with the head, which that's definitely a lot better for play. And of course it gives them more freedom when designing the armor. And then taking the armor piece off, there's a look at the torso print underneath. You can see Kai's original symbols right there, which it's cool they kept that. And there's a full look at the front torso print as well as his face print. Of course it's still the 2011 face print, which was fine for the time. He's got that scar, which is completely inaccurate to the show, but that's just what the face print had at the time. He had that up until 2017 where it was redesigned. I'm not sure why that discrepancy exists. I definitely prefer the set version to the show version. The scar is very cool, but it definitely is not accurate. Overall though, really good minifigure, and I believe this is the cheapest way to get him, right? This was the cheapest set he came in. So a great inclusion in this set, of course. I would have liked to see the Sword of Fire come with him because in the show the Sword of Fire turns into this vehicle, so from a play perspective it would have made sense to have that in this set. However, I can't say for sure if that was the plan when the set was designed. The weapons turning into the vehicles might have been something the show added later down the line, so I can't necessarily blame the designers for not including the Sword of Fire, but still it would have been nice to see. I'm happy he had weapons at least, because with Jay's Stormfighter, Jay did not get those, so at least you still have something for Kai to fight with. And then we have Rattla, and Rattla I believe was the most common of the Serpentine in these original waves. Of course after Legacy, Lasha became the most common, though actually I'm not sure because Legacy did give us Rattla in 2 more sets. But at least in 2012 this guy definitely was the most common. This was technically the only full set that he came in, but he came in 2 different spinner sets as well as 2 different polybags, so it was not hard to get your hands on a Rattla minifigure if you wanted one. He just comes with a spear as his weapon, which makes sense. Of course he also has the snake staff in this set which you can give to him, and just like all the Serpentine, I love the design of Rattla. He's not one of my favorites, but he is honestly pretty strong. He's a member of the Hypnobrai tribe, and the Hypnobrai are all about, well, hypnotizing. So the scales in his torso are in like this swirl pattern that go up from his legs into his torso, and I love how those 2 parts connect. Then the blue scales in the center of everything look really nice. I love the subtle yellow trim on them. It just really helps this minifigure pop in terms of color, because without it he feels a little grayscale, which he is. Like, he is a a very great minifigure. I do prefer the Legacy version, how they made him stand blue. I just think that's a lot more interesting. But without that yellow, this guy would be a lot more boring. I think that definitely helps. He's got this molded head crest piece, which is really, really good too. Like, I'm impressed how this is printed because it's on like this curved surface and there's so many different colors used. That dark blue and yellow pattern continues, but then you've got those gray swirling scales on the sides again, as well as some dark blue swirling scales. It really just brings so much more depth into this minifigure that he probably didn't need, but it makes a somewhat generic character so much more interesting. On a similar note, he does have a full back torso print, again with just as many colors. It's the same design from the front, continuing down the back, though slightly different. And that's mostly covered by that head crest, but it's still there and fully detailed, which is something I always appreciate. Because if they wanted, they could have just cut that for budget reasons, and I don't think people would care too much. But no, that being there, despite mostly being covered, does really tie this guy together. And finally, the face print is amazing. He's of course got those swirling red eyes, which really pop. I would have liked if the red was maybe a little bit more vibrant, because it does blend in with the dark blue a bit. However, again, that's a thing they fix on the Legacy figure. And it's not awful here, it just could be better. Great expression on him too. I like how the two eyes aren't symmetrical. It really gives off that sort of hypnotic vibe. His mouth's a little lopsided too. And then you even have more of that yellow carryover, which is so great to see. The Serpentine minifigures in 2012 were really before their time, like genuinely amazing to this day, one of the best villain factions ever. And despite being very common, I'm happy to have this guy in this set. Kai's really great too, as I said. This is a perfect minifigure selection for a $15 set. And so, overall, what are my thoughts on this set? Honestly, I think this set holds up really well. Again, I cannot believe this was only $15. These days, this would easily be $25. And yes, I know inflation's a thing, that is how it works. But still, just crazy to think that this was $15. I honestly don't have many criticisms with this set. Like, yeah, there's things that could be done better today, but more parts exist, things are different today. For 2012, this is pretty much perfect. The fact that they incorporated the transformation feature in such a small set is very impressive, and I think the transformation's a lot of fun. And minifigure selection is everything I could want. Like, obviously, yeah, more figures would have been awesome, but having a great good guy figure and a great bad guy figure in a $15 set, that's what it should be. That makes sense to me. Yeah, the worst I could say about it is the way the wheels connect is, like, a little bit awkward, but again, I think that's mostly just an era thing. All in all, this is a really fun set by all measures. So, would I recommend you guys pick it up? Honestly, yes. Again, this is one of the most iconic Ninjago vehicles of all time because it has actual plot relevance to the show. I mean, it's what the Sword of Fire turns into. Obviously, it's very important. It's from Season 1, so obviously nostalgic to me and probably nostalgic to a lot of you. And aftermarket prices don't seem too bad. I'm looking and it's like $22 to $30. Obviously more expensive than it was for retail, but if you want to go back and pick up an older Ninjago set, I think this is a pretty good choice. This might be my least favorite of the Golden Weapon vehicles, but I don't know for sure, because honestly I'm thinking about all of them and I love them all so much. Zane's is definitely my favorite, but part of that's just because Zane is my favorite ninja. The other three all kind of just feel on the same level to me though. They're all just like really, really good. So yeah, especially considering the price and the scale, amazing set, highly recommend it. I have pretty much nothing but good things to say. But of course, those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of this set in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it, subscribe to my channel if you're new. And as mentioned at the beginning of this video, let me know in the comments which set you want to see a throwback review on next. If you want to see more throwback reviews just like this one, you can go check out the full playlist in the description or in the pinned comment. Thanks for watching everybody, I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!